I am so full of pizza. I made a mistake. Oh, one day I will learn not to eat cheese, but today is not that day. Hi, hello, hi, and welcome back, or welcome to the channel. Today we got two lovely reviews. Yes, I'm aware I missed last week after the week before that being like, oh, sorry I missed this week because I've got a new job. And then last week got COVID, didn't I? It was grim, but I'm okay. I'm negative now. Generally doing all right. I'm just a bit breathless sometimes, but I also have asthma, so I'm not entirely surprised by that. Anyway, enough about me. You're not here to listen to me chat shit about the fact that I was sick. You're here to listen to me chat shit about books. Also, once again, I am unscripted, so this is going to be me rambling. I have left my physical copy of Hagseed downstairs. I'm not going down to go and get it. It is what it is. So, as you may have just gathered, of the book that I just mentioned, and if you watch my last video, which obviously you should, the first book we're going to be talking about is Hagseed by Margaret Atwood. Now, this book was phenomenal, and I don't really have to tell you that. It's a Margaret Atwood book. But I've never read a Margaret Atwood book before. I've never even watched The Handmaid's Tale. I went into this not really knowing what to expect. I mean, beyond knowing what the plot was, after having read the blurb, I didn't know what to expect tonally. Especially the main book that I know of hers being The Handmaid's Tale, knowing that that's so rough to read. I mean, obviously, incredible commentary, but I didn't know if this was going to be tonally similar to that, or if there was going to be something slightly more lighthearted about it. Also, I don't know why I said also there, but the point I'm making is I genuinely didn't know tonally what to expect, and I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. This is why I should write scripts, but I'm not going to, because rambling is more fun and it makes me feel better. I would be hard pressed to describe to you what the tone of this is. It's not light-hearted at all, but it's also not the kind of thing where you walk away from it feeling rough. I was using a mix of my physical copy and audiobook, and in both cases, I never put the book down or, turn the audiobook off and then just felt like I had to go, shit, and then take a break or something, because there are definitely books where I've had that. Never have I once had that here, and I'm really glad, because I kind of expected that. But again, that is almost solely based on the fact that I know Margaret Atwood for The Handmaid's Tale. Now, my biggest love for this... Well, no, my biggest love for this is the plot and the character and all the stuff that you're supposed to love about a book. But on a personal note, one of the things that I really loved about this book was the fact that it is literary fiction without pretension. I have mentioned this before when I spoke about French Exit in a video I've got coming relatively soon. About some library books that I've got. I in the first part of that I spoke about it there, where I'm always worried about literary fiction because there's this pretentious air to it, but this is exactly what I look for with it, because while basically what I look for in literary fiction is something that could possibly be found in it could possibly be called commercial fiction as well, because generally I think that in terms of content, and again, I can't remember if I've spoken about this before, but in terms of content, there isn't usually that much difference. Now, you know, you think about the plot of this being a guy who used to run a literary festival. He got duped and then basically got kicked out. He was on his own, going a bit stir crazy. Eventually comes across this way to not only bring his career back, but also, you know, later on, he ends up being able to make a revenge tale about it. Not make a revenge tale, but he is able to take his revenge, enact his revenge on the person that duped him in the first place. I need to check if I'm filming. Sorry, I get paranoid about that because the amount of times I've started filming and I've either just taken a picture or I press the power button rather than the volume buttons, because that's usually how I start my filming. And especially now, because I've got a new phone, the power and the volume buttons are the wrong way around, so I'm really thinking about it, but I'm okay. Also, yeah, if I look different and extra shiny, this camera's really good on this phone, but it really just brings out every part of my face. I feel like you can see every pore. Anywho, the story of this book itself could easily lend itself, especially with it being based on, you know, a Shakespeare play, it easily lends itself to literary fiction, but the way that it's told, you know, if you can hear a strange sound that sounds like something going, I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's possibly the dogs next door. But anyway, I keep losing track. Brain, please catch up to me. Don't do this to me again. Yeah, so commercial fiction and literary fiction aren't different. They're not. The difference being is how they're written, and the way that Margaret Atwood does it is she toes the line very carefully, and it's very clear that this is on the literary fiction side of things. But were you to include this in a list of commercial fiction, it wouldn't be the end of the world, you know, it wouldn't be wrong. And I love that, because too many people who write literary fiction are pretentious, and it's irritating. Because it makes most books that could have really interesting stories boring. Actually, no, you know what? That's almost entirely my reason. Like, if you write a book and it could have the world's best story that should be entirely captivating, but then you write it in such a way that makes me want to throttle somebody because it just comes from someone. I don't mean this in terms of the authors, but in terms of narrative voice, it comes across as just so, like, above everybody else. It's just, I cannot enjoy that, and I don't understand people who do. I mean, you know, apart from people who also want to feel like they're above everybody else, but that's probably going to get me in trouble. Yeah, I mean, people just look down on commercial fiction, and I am yet to understand it. I mean, I know there's the idea of, you know, but it's popular, but it's more simplistic. But simplistic doesn't mean, you know, less worthy of praise, less worthy of being treated well. And yeah, I just think that we should have more care for commercial fiction, and also we should stop literary fiction. Just stop it completely. We should stop it. But no, we should just take a bit of a look at what we're praising and why we're praising it. Because Margaret Atwood is absolutely deserving of every bit of praise she's ever got because of the way she writes. And also the stories that she's telling. I mean, the way she writes, the characters in this, they're so much fun, and to me, I mean, you know, somebody who fits into these categories could easily come along and correct me, but to me they never felt like stereotypes, which I think is easy to do, and it doesn't feel like she's looking down on them. Basically, the theatre director who, you know, lost his job, then lost his marbles a bit, and is now in a new line of work. This new line of work is a literary and theatre program for a prison, for the prison local to where he is. You know, the prisoners are treated both in terms of how the theatre director treats them, and also how Margaret Atwood treats them. They're treated like people, which I really like, and you genuinely don't see in literary fiction, mostly because it's not written by people who are working class, and a lot of people who are in the prison system are working class. It's just, you know, the way that it is, and I do not have time to dissect that, but it's true. And, you know, maybe that is one of the reasons that I have such a hard time with literary fiction, because it doesn't feel like, I mean, I'm not saying that everything has to cater to everybody, but there's this feeling like it's being intentionally exclusionary. And Margaret Atwood does so well to be more inclusive in the way that she writes. It's not oversimplified, it's not dumbed down. It never makes you feel like you're being pandered to, but it makes you feel like you're being catered to with the way she writes, and I think that's absolutely phenomenal. I should finally read The Handmaid's Tale. What I'm probably going to do, however, is find the graphic novel adaptation as well, because that looks bloody brilliant. I might even do a comparison video at some point, because there's a bunch of books that have the sort of classic traditional novels and also graphic novels, so I'm pretty sure, so I know that The Handmaid's Tale has that. I'm pretty sure a couple of Neil Gaiman's books have that. I know that American Gods does, and I'm pretty sure that the Graveyard book does. One of the Rainbow Roll books does, which I haven't, I think it's Fangirl, but it might be Carry On, or whichever one came first. I am not sure, but I'll find out. But one of those two books has the original, and it's been adapted into a graphic novel, so I might do a little video about that at some point in the future, about graphic novel adaptations, see how they play out. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Neil Gaiman ones will be good, simply based on the fact that I know he is also in the graphic novel game as well as the traditional book game, because Neil Gaiman knows how to get his fingers in as many pies as possible. Right, up next we have a book that if you are on, I'm not, but if you are on Book Talk, you are probably more than aware of this, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I found this book because I was browsing Audible at one point and they had a deal on or something like that, and I thought, oh, this seems interesting. And I was also talking to one of my friends who said, hey, I've just read, you know, classic recommendation, I've just read this book, I think you're going to really enjoy it. And I'm like, well, I've already got it. And that was maybe a week or two ago that they had given me that recommendation, and it sort of gave me the, go and read that then. Oh my God, I love this book. Like, I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be interesting. When I knew the premise, I was a little bit worried about how fanfiction-y and tropey it might be. It's not, and I'm really glad about that. There are a few tropes played off of, but it feels more like somebody who knows the genre and is toying with tropes, rather than, if you read a lot of romance, young adult fiction, especially young adult romance, and a lot of fan fiction, you'll know that there are two types of writers who use tropes, and it's those who know what they're doing with them and those who rely on them. Ali Hazelwood absolutely knows what she's doing with them, and it works so well. I mean, the premise of the book is fake dating, which is something that I have always really enjoyed, because it's sort of one of those things where it's like, yeah, I know how this is going to end. I know that they get together, but it's how, and it's at what point do they realise that this is real, and all the little hiccups and road bumps along the way, and she does it so well. The moment where, okay, I am going to say that this isn't spoilers, but no, you know what? There are going to be spoilers for this book. I'm gonna put the big bear stealing a jet ski. I'll put a timestamp here, and there'll be a picture of a bear stealing a jet ski for a few seconds, probably about 5 seconds, and then after that, we're out of the spoiler zone. Because I just want to talk about this book. I really want to talk about it, and if you haven't read it, do so. And if you don't care about spoilers, keep watching. If you do care about spoilers, head towards the bear. You've already got one review, and then cut to the end so you can find out what I'm reviewing next time. I was going to say next week, but given how this month's already gone. Anyway, like I said, last chance now, you're in spoiler territory. So, the moment where she's with her friend who knows that the relationship is fake in the cafe, and she's just going on and on about how she's really into this guy, and it's, oh my god, what is this? This is insane. And then he's there behind her, and it's like, oh, and then she just lies to him. She just fucking lies to him, and I'm like, fucking hell. Just tell him. Yeah, that thing where you want to talk to the characters in the book, and I can't. And I can't even do the thing, because sometimes if I'm reading at home, I will speak out loud a little bit, but I couldn't do that because I was listening to it at work. Which, by the way, I'll get onto that in a minute. Maybe that was a mistake to listen to this at work, but not for the reason of getting distracted, for other reasons. We'll get to it, but that scene, oh my god, and there are so many like it, like when they're in the hotel room together, and I absolutely thought they were going to do the there's only one bed thing, and she references it and then goes, no, there are two beds, it's fine, but tell you what, they only use one fucking bed, Jesus. I'm not even gonna skirt around this. That scene was really hot. And I'm just listening to this at work. I mean, I'm not gonna go into the details of a sex scene, but yeah, it was a really well written sex scene. And for me, after reading things like After or 50 Shades and shit like that, where I'm just like, I don't ever want to read a sex scene ever again. Stuff that genuinely makes your stomach turn. Like, I'll just use 50 Shades. In the first one, you've got the tampon scene. In the second one, you've got the ice cream scene. And if you know, I'm sorry. And also, I read Ice Planet Barbarians, which is a lot. It just makes you go, oh, Christ, I mean, good for you for being into this, but did you have to be public about it? But that scene, and there is only the one, sort of 1.5. If you read it, it'll make sense. It's all one of those where it's like, it's more like an extended scene with a break in the middle rather than it being two scenes, I would say. But technically, it's two scenes. But it was so well written, and I was a little bit flustered. But I'm at work. I've got the audiobook in, and there's some quite in-depth descriptions. My fucking manager comes up behind me, and I'm like, please not now, because it's probably written all over my face the amount of times I'm like, I'm trying to keep a straight face, and which is a challenge for me because I very, very rarely am able to do things straight. Ahaha. Just a little jest. The fuck was that? Anyway, but yeah, he comes up and just tosses me. I don't even remember at this point because it's not that important for this video purposes. I think he was asking me about some like checklist sheet that I've got to sort out. And he just, in the middle of him describing, well, of Ali Hazelwood describing somebody going down on somebody, I'm just like, please, man. Could you have waited 5 more minutes? Actually, I say that 5 more minutes. It's a really long scene, and I don't know if that's just because, as it was, I was kind of just wanting it to be over. Not because it was badly written, because I've definitely had moments like that reading books, and I'm like, please just stop this now. I need it to be over. But I can't skim it because that's not how you do a proper review. I need to read everything. In this case, it was just I'm at work and I'm so scared that people can hear it, because I usually have my headphone in my left ear so I can hear everything else going on around me, because my left ear's got slightly lower. My hearing's not as good in my left ear. So I put my headphone in that one so I can actually hear what's going on around me. But I'm always worried that I've got it up too high and people can hear it. And if people could hear that, oh, that's so embarrassing. And I hope not. I hope not. Thankfully, the ones that I use, they're like not AirPods. They're like that kind of vibe. So I'm pretty sure I've not got it loud enough for other people to hear. But oh God, I really fucking hope not. Oh, that would have been so embarrassing. Oh. Hands down, though, my favourite part of this is her playing the recording back to Tom. Now, basically, earlier on, she's done a huge talk at this huge STEM event, and the guy that she's meant to be then going on doing research with, who would be giving her a grant and stuff like that, he comes up to her and basically says, yeah, I'm only doing this for you because I think you're hot. And he accuses her of using he doesn't know they're fake dating. So he's like, yeah, you're just sleeping your way to the top. Repulsive human being. He also tries to then kiss her, and it's gross, but it doesn't feel like somebody using that kind of scene badly, because I've definitely read people, I should just say, sexual harassment and sexual assault scenes are never good to read. They're always uncomfortable. However, I think there's a way to write them well, and Ali Hazelwood does, because she keeps it uncomfortable, but that scene fits. It does not feel unnecessary. There are loads of books that I've read, even there are books that I have enjoyed that have had scenes like that in, where I've gone, you didn't need to write this. You just needed something nasty to happen to your protagonist. Whereas in this case, it works within the context of all of the characters that it affects, because it affects Tom, who's the harasser and assaulter. It affects, oh my God, I can't remember her name now. I'm so awful with names. And protagonist, it works for her because she, it works as part of her story, because she is so self-conscious about how she's doing, why she's doing this, and if she's right for it. And this guy just comes in and fucking bulldozes the whole thing. And the guy she's fake dating, Adam, he's known Tom for years, would do anything for him, and he has to find out what kind of guy he is. And it also fits in with how, that moment where she reveals to him, because, oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm rambling. Actually, I am. I always am. But basically, the reason it was recorded was because after her talk, she just forgot to turn her phone off, because she was recording her talk to send to one of the other professors. And as soon as I found that out, I was just like, yes, because it's going to come back and bite Tom on the arse. It's going to, because you find out that she's back at her hotel room. She goes, "Oh, my phone's at really low battery. I can't believe I kept recording." And it's just like, yes. Because there was that part of me that, like, she's going to use it against him. She's gonna find out that she's recording it. And the moment she finds out, when she sat with her friends and her friends actually convinced her to say something, because that, you know, being a woman in any industry, but, you know, STEM is such a male dominated field, and being able to speak up against high tenured, you know, professors and that kind of thing is fucking difficult. And I don't know that she would have been able to do that without the proof. I know that's heavy, I know that's hard, and that whole part of the plot is heavy and hard, but it's handled so fucking well and so accurately as well. You know, this idea of her not being able to say something, and it's not that she doesn't want to, it's that she doesn't feel like there's a point, because she doesn't feel like she'll be believed, because to her, she's just some post-grad, and this is a guy with real tenure, so why would they believe her over him? And I think it's right that should be in this book. I'm gonna talk about something a bit lighter in a minute, but it was hard. I got emotional while reading it. It's done so fucking well, and there's somebody coming up the stairs, so I'm gonna come back in a moment. Yeah, so as I was saying, I'm really pleased with the way that whole plot line was handled, and I want to see... I don't want to see more of that. How to phrase this? If I'm going to see plot lines like that in the future, I want to see it handled the way she did. We're now out of the spoiler zone. We are in spoiler-free territory once again. Just one thing I want to say before I wrap up is... oh my god, I was so happy to see some Demi... like... exposure. What's the word? Portrayal. The right word might come to me when I'm editing. I just... oh, I felt it, because... you know, that idea where she's just like, yeah, no, I thought I was... by the way, they never used words like ace or demi, but that is what's being described. Basically, during the beginning of a ridiculously long sex scene... ridiculously long. I mean... sorry. You know what? No, I'm not. It goes into quite a lot of detail about the size of that fucking thing. Don't worry. There's still in spoiler-free territory here. But at the beginning of that scene, she basically talks about how sometimes she would have sex because she thought that was the right thing to do with a partner, and for a while she basically thought that she couldn't or wouldn't feel any sexual attraction, and then she realized that she had to form this connection, this bond with somebody before actually sleeping with them. And actually hearing those words out loud really struck me, because it feels good, man. You know, it's so simple. You know, we all know that seeing ourselves in media, especially seeing ourselves portrayed well in media, it's fucking great. We all bloody love it, and we all want more of it. We all want accurate portrayals of ourselves. And it's one of those things where I don't need to hear the word demi to know that's what's being described. And I felt it deep in my bones. You know, there's a point where she's going, yeah, I thought my brain was broken because I didn't think I could feel attraction like that until I realized that it's about, you know, she's basically there. Like, for me, I know that it's about forming a connection with somebody, and I need that emotional bond with somebody before I can feel that for them. And it feels so good. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. It's just it's that good shit. It's the stuff that you want to see more of. And yeah, I do want to see more of that. I don't know what else this author has published, but I'm going to be seeking more if it's anything like this, because, you know, I was mentioning earlier that I was worried that it would be a bit fanfiction-y, and there were a couple points in the book where I was like, was this originally a fanfiction? And I don't think it was. I just think that this is somebody who knows the genre very well, so there's a lot of playing with tropes and form and that kind of thing. And I don't mean that in a bad way, by the way, when I said a couple of times I thought it might have been originally a fanfiction. It is simply because she knows how to use her tropes very well. And, you know, the tropes of fanfiction are the tropes of fiction, for the most part, you know. Obviously, there are going to be things that are very specific to fanfiction in terms of how character and location are used and things like that. Not exactly stuff that I'm entirely an expert on, mostly because I don't really read fanfiction. The only fanfiction I've read, in terms of actually reading fanfiction, how it should be read, not published fanfiction, that how it should be read. You know what I mean? Going on a website like AO3 or Wattpad, or I don't think I ever participated in fanfiction.net. I've only, point I'm making is, I have pretty much only ever read famously fucking awful fanfiction. See things like My Immortal, that kind of thing. I have also read a Harry Styles fanfiction where he is somebody's ex-stepfather. That was a roller. I didn't read the whole thing of that, mostly because it was like hundreds of chapters, but that was a wild ride. There was another one that my brain isn't going to let me think of now. There was another one that I'd read with friends that I now simply cannot remember. Oh, that was it. I found a very questionable. All of that fucking genre is questionable. But I had to tell one of my friends what AOB and Mpreg is, so we found a supernatural fanfiction to explain it to them, and that was really something. Christ alive. Point is, my knowledge of fanfiction comes from having just been in fandom spaces rather than having read it myself. And when you exist in fandom spaces, you get to know the tropes and the idea of, oh, she let go of a breath she didn't even know she was holding, kind of stuff. And that is not in this book. That's what I'm saying is, I was afraid that those sorts of things would start appearing, but they didn't, and I was really pleased with that. And I'm going to find more of this author's books, and I absolutely recommend this. If you've seen it around on Book Talk or anything like that, or you've got friends that are very in those spaces and they've recommended it to you and you've not been sure, you've maybe been on the fence, check it out. 100% check it out. Know that there is a sex scene in it, because I didn't know that. And it's spicy. It's real spicy. Especially if, like me, you're going to use the audiobook. I think if you're reading a print book, there's going to be less of an issue. Even if you read in public, unless somebody's reading the page with you, you're probably going to be alright. But just a little forewarning. Also, a forewarning that there is depictions of sexual harassment. I just think it's worth bringing up. I didn't know that going in. It is not something that was hard to read outside of that being a topic that is hard to read. I referenced that in the spoiler territory where I went a bit more in depth with how that topic is handled, but it's handled well as it can be, and it does not feel, let me rephrase that, it feels like it's coming from the right place. Right, next week I have at least one library book, something about the word saffron, and I can't remember the name of it. I've been reading it for a little bit now, like off and on, and I've been enjoying it, but I can't remember the name of it because my brain don't work. I picked it up because it has a really pretty cover. I will be continuing, like, next week will be my last, do I do that? Yeah, so I was gonna say next week will be my last week doing only women's fiction. Look, I'm aware that March was supposed to be Women's History, well, it was Women's History Month, but it was meant to be on this channel, a Women's History Month, only reading fiction by women, and then I took 2 weeks off, so I've actually not read that much. But, A, I'm new, leave me alone. B, did I say one and then B? Who gives a shit? Look, I had to take time off. It is what it is. A lot of what I read is women's fiction anyway. I will do better next time I do something like this. I think my next one will be June, where we do Pride books. And I will attempt to do a little bit better. So, what have we got? We have... Okay, this I'm very interested in, but I don't know where she is. That's my F. There it is, I've just found it. Okay, so we have 'Twas the Night Shift Before Christmas by Adam Kay, author of This Is Going to Hurt. This Is Gonna Hurt? That's what it's called, isn't it? Yeah, I knew it'd be on the front. This Is Gonna Hurt. Made into a TV series recently, which I really need to watch. Maybe a little bit mostly because Adam Kay is being played by Ben Whishaw, who I love very much, and I simply think he's wonderful. I think he's neat. But yeah, this is his diary. This is a continuation of his diaries. The same thing as This Is Gonna Hurt. As far as I'm aware, it's the same thing as This Is Going to Hurt, but it is the Christmas edition, basically. So I will read you the blurb. Christmas is coming. The goose is getting fat, but 1.4 million NHS staff are heading off to work. In this perfect present for anyone who has ever set foot in a hospital, Adam Kay delves back into his diaries for a hilarious, horrifying, and sometimes heartbreaking peek behind the blue curtain. 'Twas the Night Shift Before Christmas is a love letter to all those who spend their festive season on the front line, removing babies and baubles from various places they get stuck, at the most wonderful time of the year. So yeah, it is the same thing, but Christmassy and festive. Is this a Christmassy and festive time of the year? No, we are in March. Actually, will we be in March tomorrow? Because yeah, I'm filming this and editing it the night before, because it's me and I don't know how to do time planning properly. Yeah, so we'll still technically be in March by the time, but it's snowing, so, you know, that's Christmassy. I guess. So yeah, we'll have that. We'll have the book about saffron, I can't remember its name. And we'll probably have at least one audiobook as well, because I bloody love having them while I'm at work. They make me feel happy. It's not that they make me feel happy, it's that I need a distraction. I need sound, otherwise my brain won't work. It is what it is. So, We got that. So we'll have definitely 2 books. We'll maybe have more next week. And yeah. I have... Look, I'm not even going to talk about the essay anymore. I've had to keep postponing writing up the research of it because for the same reasons I've not been filming. So I'm sure that'll be out eventually. I've got another video that I've started filming. It's going to be filmed in sections. The first section, quite funny, because I think I do mention it's like, oh, you're going to be able to tell when I'm recording this because of my hair. I think I don't know if I've just thought or actually said that, but I was like, oh, you're going to be able to tell when I film this because of my hair. And then I realised that I don't think I actually filmed anything when I had my hair like that, other than that first video, which tells you how quickly I dyed my hair. Listen, the past couple of weeks have been something. I'm gonna blame COVID and pretend that it isn't because my impulse control is in the bin. It's absolutely because my impulse control is in the bin. Right. I hope you have a lovely day, a lovely night, a lovely whenever you're watching this. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon. I won't say next week, because who fucking knows at this point. Right.